I live at Drossen, just up the road, half an hour. And I'm just going to work through the questions as they were presented to me on the email. So I was asked to talk about the history, where I grew up, and my work background. So I was born in Perth. I spent some of my early childhood in Singapore before moving to Melbourne and doing my schooling in the outer eastern suburbs of Melbourne. I went to university at Melbourne University before heading overseas to do some farming in the UK and backpacking through Europe. Came back from there and come over to the York Peninsula pursuing a job and picked up a job with a local business called Ag Consulting Co. at Drossen and worked for them doing farm consultancy work and research agronomy work, doing a lot of work with the Upon Soils Group, who used to be here in Minlaton. I worked there for 8 or 9 years before finishing with that and starting my own business. I started up a beekeeping business. I ran about 3,000 hives right across the state and on Kangaroo Island as well. And employed at our peak nearly 10 staff doing that out of Drossen. During that time, when I was beekeeping and agronomy work, I was heavily involved in the local community, really heavily involved in the footy club. I was treasurer there for 10 years and on the management committee. Since then, I'm still actively participating in the footy club and on the management committee, but generally known as the gopher around the club, do all the jobs, timekeeping, goal scoring, and the usual things around the footy club. But I've been a lot more involved more recently in our local CFS brigade. So for the last 5 years, I've been a lieutenant in our firefighting brigade. Over that period of beekeeping, I've had a lot of involvement with not-for-profit associations, both at state and federal level. And those associations have really been about understanding what the issues are for our beekeepers, because it's all about beekeeping at that point, bringing that back and distilling it into really simple messaging and finding practical outcomes to resolve those issues. So about 4 years ago, I sold my beekeeping business and I was going to take a little break, go fishing a bit more, be away from home as much. I ended up rolling into a job that I'm currently doing. So currently I'm CEO of the Australian Honeybee Industry Council, which is a national peak industry body for the honeybee industry. We look after and represent about 47,000 beekeepers across the country. And that role is very much about getting across the country, talking about beekeepers, understanding the issues that affect them, affect their businesses and livelihoods, and trying to affect change, mainly at the federal level, to the federal government. So we do all the stuff like national biosecurity, we do national markets, import exports, cross-jurisdictional issues like resource access, water controls, movements across the country. At the same time, I've been a director of both the Australian Renewable Honey Association, which is an association that was formed to fight legal battles globally, to fight basically the New Zealanders trying to trademark the word America and prevent us from selling that, so I've been involved in that. But also as a non-executive director of Agri-Futures Australia for the last 5 years, and the last 2 years of that being deputy chair. Agri-Futures Australia is a research and development corporation. It's a statutory government-owned corporation run by an independent chair of an independent board. It's about $100 million turnover, and we manage levies that come in from our levy industries and invest in research and development. Agri-Futures is pretty unique. It gets appropriation from the government to do the big national issues. So we do a lot of cross-sectorial issues in regional and rural Australia, like workforce, capacity building and leadership. We do a lot of work around climate change and carbon as well. A lot of the people in the York Peninsula benefit from our capacity building programs, particularly around our early school leavers, university students, and some of our year 10, 11 and 12 students, doing things like providing scholarships and materials and resources into our agricultural sectors in our schools. The second question is, what's my driving motivation to become a counsellor? So I've dedicated a large portion of my free time to volunteering in my community, working in the community. That's all been based in Drossen. I'm really keen to spread my wings a bit and get back to the broader community around the peninsula. Spent years moving bees around and working with farmers across the peninsula and understanding issues. And really keen to be able to give back to the community. And I think, on the York Peninsula, moved here in 2003, I moved here for 2 years for a job, and was that 20 plus years later, I'm still here. But that's because I think the York Peninsula is an amazing place. I think we have a really unique lifestyle, and the lifestyle is really worth protecting. And I think the best way to affect that is to become part of the council and make sure that we do protect that lifestyle that I enjoy so much. What unique skills and experience can I bring to the role? Well, I've done some education. I've got a Bachelor of Science. I've got a Masters in Agribusiness, which is an MBA. I've also graduated from the Australian Institute of Company Directors. So theoretically, I have a lot of knowledge on how to run a business, corporations, finances, groups. But practically, my experience in all the associations that I've been in over the years, not-for-profit, my roles currently in the national groups, as well as with AgriFutures, gives me a lot of depth and knowledge in communicating with our beekeepers currently and farmers more generally and understanding those issues. But my role at AgriFutures gives me a really deep understanding about how bureaucracy works and how to affect change within the barriers of the bureaucracy that is set up for us. So all through my career, I've been all about navigating the bureaucracy, understanding the issues from the ground, and affecting the change through those guidelines that are presented to us. And I've got plenty of examples of successful, significant changes we've made along the way in all the teams that I've worked in. So the next question that I was asked is, what do I see as the key challenges facing council? So, look, I agree with everything both Richard and Phil have said. It's but beyond the standard sort of roads, rates and rubbish issues, which we've got lots on the council, and wastage expenditure. I see in the 20 years that I've been here that we're seeing an increase in the amount of empty shops in our towns. I reckon the vibrancy of our towns have been decreasing over the 20 years I've been here too. And I really want to make sure that as a council, we are doing everything we can to support our businesses and do everything we can to try and attract new businesses to the peninsula, to try and get our towns more vibrant and up to the excitement levels that we had when I first moved here 20 years ago. The other big issue that I see over the time I've lived here is our younger people. I think our younger people get to their late teens, early 20s, and they don't see any opportunity of staying on the peninsula. They don't see any career paths or any reason to stay here, and they leave. I see that affect our sporting clubs, where none of our sporting clubs can field teams with local players. They have to import from Adelaide now just to field those teams, which is a real indicator that we are losing our younger people. I think we need to do more in that space, and I think council has a role. I think they need to engage better with our younger people, need to show them pathways to careers, create job opportunities, and make sure that they're motivated to stay here, and so that we don't have dying towns with ageing population in the future. I think that's a really important thing for me. And the last question here is, how will you represent the ratepayers? Well, through all the roles I've had really strong values about making sure that I provide independent thoughts, thoughts that aren't captured or swayed by anyone, making sure that those thoughts, those decisions that I contribute to are well informed with the right information. Really big on making sure that if you don't have the information, you ask for it, or just don't make the decision at that point. But for me, it's really about listening to the community. I've got a long history of doing that, demonstrating with the beekeepers, understanding the issues, distilling that down to something that we can actually do, an action in a pragmatic way, and bringing that to the table and working within the bureaucracy to do that. So I'm really keen to hear from everyone else about the issues. I mean, I see it through the Ratepayers Association information, but really keen to understand what's happening in